how to actually start programming your motors into the robot. So robot configuration code is, like I said earlier, you're going to be where you're putting in your motors, your sensors, and other things that are individually part of the robot. So let's start with the motors. You want to name it something as unique as possible. So try not to name it just left or right motor, because that's already built into VEX. So we're going to do something, I try to keep it as short as I can. So LFM for me, which is the left front motor, equals, we're going to call for the motor now. You see how it shows up on the menu over here? You can type in one letter, this should show up, and you just click on it. We're going to open and close parentheses. As you notice, it will already open, or already put the close parentheses after you hit open, just to make it easier for you. Now we're going to call for what port that is going to be in. So ports dot, you notice that there's a bunch of lists right over here. So you should have 20 ports available to yourself. We're going to keep it simple for right now, since we're not actually working on a robot. We're going to say port 1. Now, in previous times, I've taught kids that you have to put in the gear setting, you have to put true or false. Truth be told, it is like default to just say green motor, and it's spinning in its true direction, which we kind of gone over before we went into these videos. Python, you don't have to actually type in gear setting or true or false, because it's already defaulted for green and also defaulted to move forward. So if that's where you want it for the left, you're done with this motor. Easiest way to make the next motor, since we got to make 4, we're making a 4-motor drivetrain. Oopsie. Is copy and paste. Change the motor name, left back motor, and then change the port 11. Once again, you're done with that one. So left motors are done. We're going to move on to the right motors. Same thing, copy and paste. We're going to change this to the right front motor. Oops. Just leave it at that. Don't try to change it to anything else. We're going to name this port 2. Now here's the thing. Because this is the right motor, the way you build the robot, one direction is going to go forward. We're going to make the opposite end. It's going to be kind of a mirror section of it. And that's going to have to be a different set of driving forward. Because if you drive forward with a mirror set, it's going to go backwards, correct? I would think. So if that's the case, we got to put false here. I'm sorry, true. This will actually, it's already defaulted to false. So you have to actually make it the true. So it actually goes in the other direction. Now that we got that, let us copy this one. So for minimal changes, and then paste. So change this to port 12, and change this to right back motor. All right, so that's your 4 motors. Now, like I said before, when you first join robotics, is that every robot has to have an inertial sensor. That is something that you cannot get away from. So we have to put our inertial sensor in. So I like to name mine very weird, inert equals. And instead of calling for the motor, we're calling for the style of sensor that it is. So it is called an inertial sensor. Notice that it comes up already. Let's hit enter. Open close parentheses. And we're going to say what port's at it in. Ports, say port 13. This one doesn't need a true or false, it's in a port. There. And you're done with that. Now any other sensors, like your distance sensors, vision sensor, optical sensor, all that, anything that uses a smart wire, these are the ones you got to be doing ports in. When you start doing stuff like limit switch, line tracker, pneumatics, anything that uses a 3-wire is going to be totally different. But it still goes in here. So let's say you want to type those in a different way. Instead of using ports, we'll be using the 3-wire code. So let's start with the limit switch. So I usually make it simple for me to remember, so LMTS, that's me. And then if you notice when we typed in L, first one that came up was limit. That is a code for your limit switch. And when you actually bring up the parentheses, it actually brings up how the code should be written. So if you notice on the bottom where it has the examples, limit brain 3-wire port dot A, that's what we're going to type. 3-wire port dot A. Now this is just an example if we haven't plugged in any other letter, because if you notice when you actually type, when you look at the letters, it's A through H. That's all on one side of the brain that you can just plug it into, making sure that it's pushed in all the way, of course. So we're going to go A, keep it simple. Other ones like bumper switch, you notice when I have BMP, it actually shows up bumper. So type in bumper. Do that. And there is also another one that we use in our classroom all the time called pneumatics. So pneumatics shows up right there, same thing. 3-wire port dot C. So anything using the older style of 3-wire ports, that's how you'll be typing in the code. All right, the next part we're going to go over is motor groups, and then also drivetrain and controller. And we'll go from there. See ya.